children, think about it. This is just one aspect of worldly image. Barbie and Ken. We give Barbie and Ken dolls to our kids at a very young age, sometimes before they can walk, sometime before they can even talk. And we give these toys to our kids thinking, oh, that's what you give to little children. So as little children are playing with Barbie and Ken, you know what? Barbie and Ken, at least physically, are perfect. And so as kids are playing with Barbie and Ken, they're playing with an image. And as they are at a very young age, they are learning that this is the image of humanity. And they learn at a young age that this is what they are to look like. And they identify with Barbie and Ken. And they think they look like Barbie and Ken. But they don't have to grow very old before they start realizing, as they look in the mirror and as they look at Barbie or as they look at Ken, you know what? You know what? I just don't quite have the look. And so they will work very hard not to live in the image of God in the way that God would want them to look like, but now they are trying to look in like the image of Barbie or the image of Ken and all of what goes with these two. Their attitudes, their lifestyle. And so Barbie and Ken, then that begins to progress into this whole popularity thing. So if you look like Barbie and if you look like Ken, well, then it's not long before you're popular, and then you live that whole lifestyle. Everybody caters to Barbie and Ken because at a young age we learn that this is the way you are supposed to look. And this is the way that you are supposed to be. So if you look a little bit like this, and here again, nobody looks exactly like this, but if you look a little bit like Barbie and Ken, then the world is going to cater to you. The world is going to roll out the red carpet. Life is going to be a lot easier. But then for the rest of us, well, we look in the mirror and we see, well, I guess I'm too tall, or I'm too short, I'm too thin, or I'm too heavy. My nose is too long. I'm starting to notice I've got a few gray hairs in my head, and I got some on top of my head, and I've got some wrinkles that are showing up in my face. My feet are too big. You know how it goes. And I'll tell you, our society is feasting on this. A lot of the programs that I see on TV, a lot of the advertisements, it's like you got to buy this product, or all the pressure is that you got to buy our product. You got to be like this, because if you want the world to accept you, you got to be like Barbie and Ken. You've got to look like Barbie and Ken, and if you don't, well, then the world's not going to accept you, and you know what? The world doesn't accept you. And that's where people really struggle. And so if it's not physically living in Barbie and Ken, then sometimes it has to do with our intellect, our mentality. It doesn't take long before society will pigeonhole you as far as your intelligence goes. Have you ever been called a moron before? We go to school, or we go with our friends, or wherever we are, and it's not long before somehow everything is all jockeyed to where you are put in your position as far as intelligence goes. And oh, how we'd like to test to show that, I'm straight A's. Or if I'm straight B's, that's not bad. But oh man, you're C level, and a lot of times you're operating on a D level. So in other words, what again do we experience in life? But rejection. Okay, so do you see the difference between living in God's image and living in the world's image? When we live in God's image, we are going to be well-rounded in life. We will have an acceptance of ourselves to say that I'm okay, to look the way that I look, and to be at the intelligence level that I'm at. And so a person's going to have a peace about themselves. They're going to have a sense of being secure in themselves, to say, you know what, it's okay I've got a few gray hairs. Or it's okay that I didn't graduate from the University of Harvard. It's okay that maybe I can't bench press 300 pounds. It's okay that I don't look like Ken. But what matters is that you live in the image of God, that you're loved by God, that you are redeemed by God. You've been saved by God. And you're living by His love in your life. So not only do you love yourself because of the love that God has for you, but that love is being poured out in your life to where you are loving others. And so when you think about imaging, when you think about marriage, one of the problems that I see that sometimes couples have is that they're marrying this person, but they're going to see this person as being their lifetime project to try to make this person into the person that they want this person to be. You know, I'm marrying you, and I think in a matter of 5 years I can make you to be like Ken. Or I can make you to be like Barbie. And I'll tell you what, that's a formula for disaster. Because in our lives, as we think about Barbie and Ken, who are they? They're pretend people. They begin to be the image of what we think a person should be. Not only the image of how we should be, but also the image of how our friend should be, also the image of how our spouse should be. And so we imagine to say, well, I have met this person, I've fallen in love with this person, I'm going to get married to this person, but now I'm imagining that this person is going to be living in the image that I have and how I want my spouse to be. And I am going to make this person into that pretend person, into that image. And so what I want to say, like what I say with young couples, it's just like, are you marrying the person who you're marrying? You're marrying this person for who they are, and you're not going to change this person. This is the person that you're marrying. And so do you love this person? Is this the person that you can live with? Then you're good for marriage. But if you're saying, well, yeah, this is the person I'm marrying, but this person is 75% of the way that I want this person to be, then don't marry this person. If you don't like the way that this person is in so many ways, then you don't marry this person, because this is not who you love. And you don't say, I'm going to make this person to be who this person is not. And so I will ask couples this question. In pre-marriage counseling, what are 5 things that you really like about your fiance, the person that you're married? Because I think that this is also good for marriage. What are 5 things that you really like about this person? And you name those 5 things, you know what? The person's going to appreciate that, because all these 5 things that you name mean that this is something you like about that person. It means that, oh, this person who's marrying me sees value in me. This person accepts me. This person recognizes good qualities, and they're not expecting me to be somebody who I'm not. But then I also do say, well, name 1 to 3 qualities. I'll say, now, you're marrying the perfect person, but tell me 1 to 3 things about this perfect person that's imperfect about them. And generally they can come up with 1 to 3 things to say, well, I love this person, but I don't like this about this person. And so in other words, what is this exercise for? It's to say that I'm marrying the perfect person, but I understand and I recognize that there's some imperfections about this person, but I love this person anyway, and I'm not going to allow these things to drive us apart. In other words, I'm not going to sit here and criticize and bellyache and nag until death do us part over these things that maybe I don't like. And here again, now this is going to be a gross analogy, but I'm going to use it to really make the point. I remember one gal when I asked this question, what's one thing that you don't like? What's one imperfection about this perfect person? And she said, well, I don't like the fact that he chews tobacco. She says it repulses me. I said, okay, well, you're marrying this guy, he chews tobacco. And understand that as you marry him, you're not going to change him. You think, well, once we get married, I'm going to change him. He's never going to chew tobacco again. No, you accept him for who he is. You know what she did? She went out and she bought a spittoon that she had engraved his name and some other special messages on it and gave it to him, basically saying that, yeah, I detest this, but I love him, and this is not going to get in the way of our marriage. And so we can't control how other people are, but we can control how we are going to live our lives. How one person acts is one thing, but how we react is quite another. I remember taking a group of youth to a Yankees game. I took a group of youth out on a mission trip to New York City, and one night I took them to a Yankees game. And it was a lot of fun, and everybody had a good experience. But I remember the people sitting behind me, and they were drinking throughout the game, and by the 7th inning, I'll tell you what, they were very boisterous and very obnoxious, and all I was thinking is that tonight, if I get baptized with beer, meaning that if I get beer dumped on my head and down my back, I am going to be upset, and I'll tell you what, somebody's going to hurt behind me. I made up that they're acting this way, and I decided my reaction is going to be that they're going to hurt. Well, then I started praying about it, and God settled me down to say, okay, think this through. If you do what you think that you're going to do, okay, this is how they are acting, and this is how you plan to react. What's going to happen is that you are going to be thrown out of the stadium, and I just thought, well, I can just stand outside of the stadium, and after the game I can meet the group. Well, number one, this is not going to be a good example for the group. And number two, I could end up going to the police station. And then what is our group of youth going to do? So I just decided that my reaction is going to be is that I'll just sit there humiliated with beer dripping down my face for the rest of the game because of the group. Well, as it turns out, that didn't happen. But you got to think things through. You think about hills that become mountains. That can be anything from people, your spouse being a night person, to being a morning person, being a tidy, orderly person, to being disorderly. Whatever it may be, hot-tempered versus mild-tempered. But here again, another person can't make you happy. You got to be happy yourself. And that's living in the image of God, that God loves you and accepts you. And when you live this way, then you will be in a position where your love and your goodness will make those around you happy. So here again, live in the image of God, love your spouse for who he or she is. Thank you for joining me.
You've been watching To Know Christ with Reverend Jeff Pedersen, pastor at the Lutheran Church of Peace in Platteville, Wisconsin. If you have comments about this program, you may contact Pastor Pedersen via email at to-know-christ@hotmail.com. On behalf of the Lutheran Church of Peace, I'm Robert Snyder. Thank you for watching our program, and please join us again for To Know Christ.